Hey, Ty here, so welcome to the VR Tech channel, and this video wants to be a response to all the comments on the HP Reverb G2 video that we did last week during the announcement. Because, well, there were a lot of questions about if you should go for the Rift test, for example, that is cheaper, or to go directly for the Valve Index that is more expensive than this, or just to wait for fall because that's when the G2 is gonna be released. So I wanna recap a little everything and give you my idea if you should save, wait, or just buy. So let's get into it. Now, for this video, I want to take, for example, 3 major headsets out there. That doesn't mean that there's nothing else available. That means that the headsets that kind of represent like a kind of a part of the market, where we have the Rift S, that is one of the cheaper headsets on the market with $399 US. Nice quality, but really that's a cheap headset and should be a little cheaper for my advice. And we have the Valve Index, that is the top of the line in this moment, and $999 with a very advanced tracking system like the Lighthouse technology, very advanced controllers like the Valve Index controllers. And of course, the headset that gave a lot of inspiration to the third headset we want to talk about, and this is the HP Reverb G2. That, as we know and as we talked about it in the video over here, well, is made in collaboration with Valve itself, the creator of the Valve Index. And there are many similarities in there, making it like a cheaper index in a way, even if it's created and manufactured by completely a different company and actually runs on a different system at all, that is Windows Mixed Reality. So with that said, it's really easy to understand why it's really hard to decide if you should just save money and go for the Rift S, if you should wait a little bit till fall 2020 to go for the G2, or to just buy the Valve Index that is the top of the line right now. So I want to go step by step to really make you understand what might be more important for you or not. So the Rift S, as we said, it should be a cheaper headset. It's made by Lenovo. It works very well because it's on the Oculus platform, but on the same time has a lot of different limitations. Like the lack of IPD adjustment, it's a big thing. The thing is that we still have one of the best lenses on the market because Oculus is really good making lenses, but well, they don't do miracles. So if you are 72 with the IPD on millimeters, like the distance between your pupils, well, it could be a little challenging to use these without having headaches after an hour of gameplay. So there's something that you have to take in consideration for sure. Knowing your IPD is very important in this decision. Also, to keep the price down, Oculus had to cut some stuff like the audio. I didn't say audio this time. Well, it's not really that good. You're really gonna need some external headphones to enjoy this headset because the little speakers on the headband are not actually enough to have a good experience at all. Even the microphone is really bad. When we talk about the screen, here we have an LCD with RGB pixel arrangement, like the other two at the end of the day, but here we have lower resolutions, that is 2880 by 1440. It's a single panel that you divide for the two eyes. So lower resolution than the other, where the Reverb has actually the highest resolution of 2160 by 2160 each eye, so 4K display each eye, and the Valve Index a little lower with 1440 by 1600 but RGB pixel arrangement. So higher than the Rift S but lower than the Reverb. So when it comes to the screen and resolution, well, you have the highest resolution in the mid sector of the price, the HP Reverb G2 at $599. That's, as we said, is an amazing price to have these kind of screens, but screens are not everything. We talked about in the past the problem that there were with the HP Reverb. The lenses weren't just good enough, so it was actually more enjoyable to use a lower resolution screen like the one on the Rift S than the HP Reverb Generation 1. Now, it seems that they changed the lenses this time to have something more similar to the Index. Actually, Valve itself made the lenses this time, but well, it's something that we have to try in person. The resolution would be amazing anyway when it comes to racing simulators and stuff like that, so you already have a niche where these headset will work very, very well. And with that, we see where these $200 difference come in place between the Rift S and the G2, because you have the IPD adjustment, so more people will be fine. You're gonna have a better screen with better resolution because, well, the resolution is much, much higher than the one on the Rift S, and you have better audio. That if you buy something to have a similar audio of the one that you have on the Valve Index for the Rift S, well, you're gonna spend over $100 in headphones, and so, well, the price starts to get very, very close to each other. Now, are these parts very important for you? Well, they should be, to be honest, and for me, $200 is a very fair price. Now, what's the difference there, though, is the software, because the Oculus software we know that is renowned, is very, very good. We have very different games and exclusives over there. Instead, Windows Mixed Reality with the G2, well, we run Steam VR, but many people are attached to the Oculus platform over there, and move from Oculus to Windows Mixed Reality could be a little hard to swallow. Yes, we still have a Revive, so you're going to be able to play Oculus games also with different platforms, but it's a workaround. It's not really something that works natively, so sometimes it doesn't really work in the right way. So when it comes to these two, I will for sure consider the G2 at this moment, also because I see many people not really happy with the Rift S, because there never been any update on software and there's the same exact thing that we had at the beginning. Instead, everything else is evolving, like the Oculus Quest, that I will consider much more than the Rift S in this thing. I hate to put like this thing out every time, but the Oculus Quest now with the new updates for the links, well, it looks awesome. Even when you play PC VR, you have a little higher latency. You have 8 Hz less when it comes to playing with these screens, but well, at the same price, actually gives you much more than the Rift S, with also eye tracking and stuff like that. But that's really a topic of another video. Now, between the jump from the $599 Reverb G2 to the Valve Index, there's a lot to talk about, because here we have headsets that are very, very similar to each other. Well, Valve work on pretty much on both. The audio is exactly the same, as we said. So for $599, you have the exact same audio that you have on the Index. That's very impressive. We have even higher resolution, as we said, with 2160 by 2160 instead of 1440 by 1600 each eye, and that's very interesting. So where this $400 difference come from, and is it worth it actually to spend that much more? Well, the Valve Index over here, by the way, has a better tracking, and we said it also in the past, because it's not an inside-out tracking like Windows Mixed Reality or the Rift S, but it uses lighthouses, so you have to put sensors outside to understand the position of this. That makes it less portable, but much more precise, and opens a lot of possibilities, because we saw, for example, full body tracking using the Vive trackers. I don't want to talk about comfort because this looks very similar to the G2. Actually, it's a very similar idea in the strap. The only different on the G2, then instead of having a dial to open and close it on the back, well, you have 2 straps on the side. That actually can be a good thing if you use a lot of simulators, because so you don't have the little knob on the back, and when you lay down on the chair, well, it's going to be perfect and very comfortable for you. What we can compare to, and where this difference on money come from, is also from the fact that here we have a screen that runs at 144 Hz instead of the 90 Hz on the HP Reverb G2, and I can tell you that this difference in hertz is something that you can really feel. Everything feels super smooth when you play with the Valve Index. Of course, you really need to have a PC powerful enough to sustain those hertz, and the 2080 Ti for some games is just not enough. Trust me. And also another factor is the FOV, that here it's 135 degrees, so much wider than what you're gonna have on the HP Reverb G2. That wasn't that wide, but we compare it directly with the one on the Rift S at this point. But now with all of this said, is another factor to consider, that is actually the controllers. Now, the new controllers for Windows Mixed Reality look very, very interesting. They actually changed the design to make it more similar to the Oculus Rift S than the old Windows Mixed Reality controllers, but they're very far from the technology that we have inside the Valve Index controllers, for example. So we're not gonna have full hand tracking, seeing like the movement of each finger, but we're gonna have a movement more similar to the Rift S, we have these three fingers that move together and the index that is independent using a different trigger. Now, I have to say that I really love the direction of the new controllers because the thumbstick is really needed, and the new grip button like that, like an analog, is completely needed, and it's gonna help a lot the VR ecosystem because every game that will work for the Oculus Rift will work also for the new Windows Mixed Reality controllers. But now, going back to the comparison, if you are more a social person, you really want this hand tracking immersion, well, so that's where your $400 more are gonna come from as well, with much different, more inspired controllers of the one that we have on the Reverb G2. But now, to sum it up and give you my idea on it, well, if it's your first time in VR, the first time you're jumping in VR, well, I would probably go anyway for the Rift S or the Oculus Quest, because they give you a very nice entry-level headset where the software is completely ready for you, and the headset is nice enough to give you a good immersion and really understand if you want to invest in the future in this new technology that, of course, you should, but well, you have a first taste of it, and it's not gonna be a bad taste with it. But if, for example, you're coming from the first Oculus Rift of first generation headsets, well, the G2 seems like the real answer over here. It's not much more expensive if you consider it at the end of the day, and gives you much more quality in the product. Instead, if you come from the Vive platform, well, the Valve Index seems the right progression because it's gonna also work with the lighthouses that you already have, and having the controllers and the headset itself, they're gonna make the immersion much better than the original Vive. For example, the resolution is very good for every game, and the controllers are like just a breeze in the market that makes immersion much better than the old Vive ones that we had in the past. So it's also come as you want the best of the best. Well, the Valve Index is there. You don't have the same value for the money at the end of the day because it's very expensive, and of course things start to get better a little slower than from the lower end, but you have the best headset possible on the market over there. Instead, I'm really happy and hyped by the G2, the HP G2, because I think they really nailed the price. Does that mean that you should completely forget about the Rift S? No, as I said, the software is very important, content is king, also in VR, and well, Oculus really know how to push not software updates in this case, but games over there. And well, if you want to play those games the best way possible, having the best frame rates, because at the end of the day, the Oculus platform works very well with also lower end PC, well, the Rift S is a great option instead. And higher resolution would be hard to run, and also a higher refresh rate would be hard to run in the proper way, and so you're gonna need much more powerful PC. So you have all your different answers over there. Put it together. What PC do you have? Is your first time in VR or not? Do you want the best of the best? Do you want good value? Well, you have your answer over there. But here you have it, guys. I hope this helped to understand a little better how to move in the market right now for these three major headsets, as I will consider it right now. And as always, if you liked the video, like. If you didn't like the video, dislike. Subscribe to the channel for more of VR tech. And if you love the channel, you can also help the channel a little. There's a join button down there, like these super nice people. I don't know if it's this side or this side, by the way, but also down there we have the t-shirt, the Back to VR t-shirt, and the sticker. Check it out, and well, that's all. Thanks for watching. See you guys next video. Have a great weekend.